Hello everyone, welcome to Meet Fish Poultry Process Technology lecture series. My name is Shiv Prasad. I'm an assistant professor at Department of Food Technology, Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research. So in our today's deliberation, we will be having a discussion on one of the important and interesting topic, that is value-added fish products. So before getting into the actual product description that we would be discussing, so it is important to understand what are the preliminary unit operation that is conducted as far as the fish is received at the station or at the processing unit. Okay, so let us have an understanding on what are the basic unit operations that are involved in the processing of the fish. So herein I have established a flow chart which eventually describes what are the important unit operations that are performed. So the first one is the stunning operation, so where the animal is rendered unconscious in a humane manner, and next would be the grading. So the grading would be done as per the size and also the type of the fish, and also the next is the scaling, where the scales of the fish will be removed, and then it will be subjected for washing purpose to remove any kind of an adhered extraneous matter which might contain bacteria and other types of microorganism. And next one is deheading, so where the fish will be deheaded, the head as well as the body of the fish will be separated, and then there will be gutting. So gutting is nothing but the internal organs which are inedible, so will be removed in case of gutting process, and following which we have filleting, and then we have skinning where the skin of the fish would be removed, and then at last we have one more important process, that is meat bone separation. So here all the unedible or discarded meat portions of the fish will be subjected to a separator, and then the meat portion will be separated excluding all the bone materials. Okay, so these are the important unit operation steps which are ideally performed as a basic unit operation for the fish processing. So let us have an understanding on individual unit operation in detail. So first thing, we have the important process that is called as stunning. So as we are already aware, stunning is a process of rendering an animal to an unconscious state. So similarly, to practice the human slaughtering of a fish, so here the fish will be subjected for a stunning process. So how exactly stunning is done? So the stunning process in case of fish is ideally performed by using electrical stunning method. Electrical stunning technique. So electrical type of stunning technique is widely practiced to render an animal, especially here we are talking about the fish, to unconscious state. So how exactly it is performed? So stunning of the freshly caught fish or the fish delivered live to a processing plant is best done by an electrical current. So here electrical current will be transmitted, which is in turn rendering the animal or the fish for unconscious state. So the firstly what ideally is done is the fish are placed in a tank of water, and an electrical current is then passed through the water to stun or kill the animal. So as it is clearly shown in this particular picture, so in the tank, so we have a fish and we have water. Okay, so through this electrode we will be passing electrical current. So this electrical current will in turn render the fish to an unconscious state. So this is the manner how exactly stunning is performed specifically for a fish in a fish processing industry. So besides electrical stunning technique, so there can be also chemical stunning techniques where carbon dioxide is chiefly used. So as we have previously studied, so carbon dioxide can also be used, okay, so to render an animal or a fish to a unconscious state. So how exactly it is done? So in case of some plants where they have practiced this, so water in the fish tank is saturated with carbon dioxide, which in turn renders the animal to unconscious state or dead. Okay, so as we are already aware, so fish requires oxygen to breathe, correct? So if we are saturating the entire water by incorporating carbon dioxide, there will not be enough of oxygen which is available for the fish to breathe. Okay, so in turn what is happening? So there will be cerebral anoxia. That means there will not be enough of oxygen that is supplied to the cerebrum or to the brain. So in turn, what is happening? So the animal will be rendered to an unconscious state. So this is about the stunning technique which is widely practiced in case of a fish processing plant. To give you an overview, so stunning is a process of rendering an animal to an unconscious state prior to slaughtering. So in case of fish processing industry, so there can be two types of stunning technique that are widely in practice. First one is by utilization of electrical current, and the second one is by utilization of chemical. So in case of electrical current will be passed at a specific volt, which in turn will render the animal to unconscious state. In case of chemical technique, we will be using carbon dioxide, which causes in turn cerebral anoxia and then renders the fish to an unconscious state. So thereby it can be processed for the next important step. So this was about the stunning. So the next important unit operation soon after the stunning is the grading. So grading, as the name itself suggests, it is the process of sequence starts from the grading by the species as well as the size, by the type of species of the fish, and also depending on their size, the grading of the fish is widely performed in case of a fish processing plant. Okay, so automated sorters are rarely used in the small plants because they are extremely, capital investment is extremely high because of their high cost. So automated sorters are not widely used in the small plant. So ideally in case of small plants, the grading is ideally done by a manual means. So manual people or labor intensive process it is. So the labors are involved in sorting the fishes depending on their size as well as the type of the fish. Okay, so in case of the big industries or in case of the large plants, they will be using automatic sorters, as you can clearly see in this particular picture. So there is a specific length or the width, okay, so where the fishes will actually fit in. So based on this particular width, so the fish will be sorted accordingly. So this is the manner how exactly the grading of the fish is happening in case of a larger plant. So in case of the smaller plants, it is done manually and therefore it is a labor intensive process. Okay, so in some automated grading is 6 to 10 times more efficient than that of the manual grading. So manual grading is not that efficient. So the automatic grading is more than 6 to 10 times more efficient in comparison to the manual grading. So that is the advantage of having a automated sorters or automated grading technique implemented in case of a fish processing plant. So this was about the grading technique that is practiced in case of a meat processing industry. Okay, so next important step that is widely employed is the scaling. So as we are already aware, so the surface of the fish is covered with a lot of scale, okay, which in turn helps the fish to as a primary defense mechanism and everything. So it becomes necessary to clean that particular scaling. So that means that the scale has to be effectively removed prior to the processing of fish into any of the different products. So how exactly the scaling is done? So many freshwater species are routinely scaled and is extremely labor intensive process when it is done manually. So as it is clearly described, so the scaling ideally in the small plants is done by manual means. So that means that they involves labors and it is not easy to scale a fish by 100% because it is a labor intensive process and it involves lot of energy and time. So it becomes extremely difficult because individual fish has to be taken onto a pad and then by using effective tools as it is clearly seen. So these are the scaling tools which manually has to be used. Okay, so these scaling tools and removal of the scales will become labor intensive whenever it is practiced manually for the removal of the scales. But most of the industries are also using automated scaling machines, which in turn facilitates them to remove 100% of the scale effectively and efficiently. So herein I have shown you a picture of electrical handheld scaler. So this is an electrical handheld scaler which is effectively in usage in case of most of the fish processing units, specifically removing of any of the scales that is remaining soon after the processing. Okay, so they are most commonly used for secondary scaling of the fish which has left the automated scaling device 80 to 90% free of scales. So the automatic devices are effectively in place in case of most of the fish processing industry. So these automatic devices, what they does, they will try to remove the scales that are present on the surface of the fish effectively. So up to what percentage? So they will render the fish, whenever we are passing the fish to an automated scaling machine, the fishes will become 80 to 90% free of scales. Okay, so the remaining 10 to 20% of the scales will be manually removed by using electrical handheld scaler. Okay, so thereby it becomes significantly effective by usage of the electrical handheld, scalers in case of fish processing industry. Okay, so the use of handheld scalers reduces labor intensive and assures complete elimination of the scale. So by the end of this particular process, we can assure that the fish that is being processed is 100% free of scales, while in case of manual, we cannot actually guarantee, because there might be a lot of damage that might actually happen during the manual process. But in case of the automatic process, we are ensuring the consumer that the product is devoid of any of the scale. Okay, so that is of important content. Alright, so next important type of unit operation that we would be studying is about the washing. So why exactly washing has to be done? So the washing in case of fishes are widely in practice so that we will remove any of the type of the adhered microflora that might be present on the surface of the fish. In our previous lecture, we have effectively understood what are the natural microflora that might actually exist on the surface of the fish. Okay, so thereby washing becomes a predominant step which effectively decreases any of the microorganism load that might be existing on the surface of the fish. So washing is intended primarily to clean the fish and to remove accumulated bacteria. So whatever the accumulated bacteria that might have been present, so washing significantly reduces the load of microorganism from the surface of the fish. So the effectiveness of the washing depends on various factors. So first thing is, what is the kinetic energy? What is the force of the water in which it is employed for the cleaning process? And also, what is the ratio of fish to volume of water? So fish to volume ratio is also one of the significant thing that has to be taken into consideration here. So the proper the proper ratio that is significantly should be in practice is 1:1. That means one portion of fish and similar portion of water is significantly required for ensuring proper cleaning of the fish. But ideally in practice, we are however using more amount of water in comparison to the normal recommended ratio. That means that we are using twofold extra. So this will ensure proper cleaning of the fish, and it might render the fish practically free from most of the microorganisms. Okay, so the potable water is to be used for washing of the freshwater fish processing plants. So that is of prior importance. So whenever we are subjecting washing or subjecting the fish for washing purpose, it is to utmost priority that we are using potable water. Okay, so if potable water is not used, it might actually carry numerous variety of microorganism which in turn might cross-contaminate the fish. Okay, so to ensure that the water is practically free from any kind of a chemical as well as the microorganism, it is always advisable that one must always use potable water for cleaning of the fish as well as fish visceral organs. Okay, so that is of importance of washing as far as fish is considered. Alright, so there are also mechanical washing equipments as well as automatic equipments that is available, which will in turn ensures the washing of the fish significantly in a fish processing plants. Okay, so the next type of unit operation is deheading. Okay, so as the name itself suggests, it means that we are separating the head of the fish from its body. Okay, so the deheading. So the head constitutes about 10 to 20% of the total weight of the fish, and also it is cut off as an inedible part. Okay, so as we are already aware, so 10 to 20% of the total weight of the fish is contributed exclusively by its head. Okay, so the head of the fish contributes to around 10 to 20% of its total weight, and also this is an inedible part. People tend to not eat the head because of its scale and everything. So ideally it is considered as an inedible part. So although many mechanized deheading machines had been developed for the processing of marine fish, freshwater fish are usually deheaded manually. So as you can clearly see in this particular picture, the freshwater fish are ideally subjected for deheading in a manual manner. So this, as it is clearly seen in this particular picture, we are using sharp knife which in turn cuts or chops off the head. So how exactly that has to be done? So the cutting technique uses in case of the deheading can be ideally performed in 4 different ways. So the first one is the round cut. So here, this way, the head will be chopped off from the rest of the body, and the second one will be a contoured cut. Okay, so in case of the contoured cut, so ideally it is cut in this particular fashion. Okay, so in case of the straight cut, so the head will be separated straight. Okay, so straight cut, and next one will be the slant cut. So where the portion of the head will be chopped in this particular fashion. So this is the way how exactly the deheading is ideally performed whenever we are talking about manual deheading process. Okay, so the manual deheading is again a labor intensive process. Okay, so next one, in case of automatic machines, so we can employ lot of other types of the equipment. So the equipment such as like the cylindrical rotational saw as well as disc saw, as it is evidently shown in this particular picture. Okay, so here you can see the fish which is placed, and then you have a cylindrical saw which is extremely sharp and it is rotating, and as the fish moves, so the head will be chopped off, and then we will be left with only the body part, which will be significantly used for other processing operations. So this is the way how exactly the processing or the deheading process is ideally employed or performed in case of a fish processing plant. Okay, so the next important type of unit operation is nothing but the gutting. Okay, so gutting is also one of the important unit operation that is performed for the processing as a primary processing of the fish. So how exactly the gutting is done? So the purpose of gutting is to remove those fish body parts most likely to reduce the product quality. So whatever the inedible part that will be there in the gut, so as the name itself suggests, that means it is gut. So all the small intestine, large intestine from the fish will be ideally removed in this particular process, because these kind of product will in turn hamper the product quality, because as we are already aware, so the gut of a animal contain a lot of undigested food. And also it resides a lot of microorganism. Okay, so since the gut resides undigested food and a lot of microorganism, so there is always a possibility of contamination of the entire carcass by such kind of microorganism, which makes the entire product quality to be disrupted, and in turn that product will become inedible for consumption. So it is of utmost priority that we make sure that the inedible part from the animal is effectively removed. Okay, so evisceration, which is nothing but the removal of the visceral organ of freshwater fish, is labor intensive and usually performed by hand. So it has to be performed by hand, and therefore it is a labor intensive process. So gutting consists of cutting down of the belly, removal of the internal organs, and optionally cleaning of the body parts. Okay, so as you can clearly see in this particular picture, so they are, the belly of a fish will be cut, and then all the internal organs which might be present will be taken out, and that is the reason it is regarded as gutting process. So this is about the gutting. So soon after the gutting, the animal or the fish will be also subjected for cleaning purpose by using hot water. Okay, so next important type of unit operation is nothing but the filleting. So as we are already aware, so filleting is nothing but, filleting is the process of removal of the bone from the fish. So removal of the bone from the fish is the important unit operation regarded as filleting. So as you can clearly see in this particular picture, so the skin is in close contact with the bones. Okay, so this has to be effectively removed. So this particular process is called as filleting. So herein I have evidently shown two pictures which effectively describes how exactly the filleting has to be performed. Okay, so in this particular case we will have to make sure that we are separating it and the separated version. But one of the important disadvantage here is the skin is still intact. So in the next process we will have to ideally remove the skin. So that is nothing but the de-skinning process or skinning protocol. Okay, so this was about the filleting. Okay, so next important unit operation is skinning process. Okay, so as I've already told you, skinning is the removal of the skin that might be adhered on the fillets. Okay, so the malleoled fillet skinning is labor intensive and difficult because a sharp knife and the flat board made of metal or plastic are needed. So that is a labor intensive process. So if it is manually performed, so in case of manually, if we are performing, what ideally is happening, so we need a flat board and then we will be needing a sharp knife. Okay, so we will have to separate the edible portion without the skin. So the skin has to be effectively taken care or removed by using the knife. Okay, so ideally what happens in case of an automated industry is that they have specially designed machines. So as you can clearly see in this particular picture, you just have to insert the deheaded fish and the machine itself will separate the fillet and also it will remove the skin. So such kind of automated machines are also in place in case of an automated industry where it becomes much labor, less labor intensive process. Okay, so that is about the skinning protocol. Okay, so next then we have another important operation, that is meat bone separator. Okay, so this meat bone separator is ideally employed for preparation of the minced meat. So how exactly this is done? So let us have an understanding on that as well. So in recent years, new trends have emerged to effectively process raw fish product, which results in production of the minced meat separated from the inedible parts such as bones, skins as well as scales. Okay, so that is one of the important thing. So whatever that we are calling it as inedible parts, just like the bones, skin as well as scales. So during the filleting process, there is always a possibility that there will be a manual error as well as the machine error, that the bones as well as the skin of an animal might actually have certain portion of meat which is left in them. So such portion of the meat has to be effectively employed, in turn reducing the capital cost on the industry, because there will be a lot of loss if we are losing on the meat via bones, skin as well as scales. So to utilize this, there have been lot of effort by the scientists and they have developed an individual equipment which has a capability of separating the meat which has effectively stuck onto the bones, skin or the scales. Okay, so that is nothing but meat bone separator. So during the filleting, considerable amount of meat is usually left along the ribs as well as backbone. So around 30 to 50% of the meat portion will be left on the skin as well as the backbone during the filleting process. So that is ideally discarded previously, but now because of this particular equipment, that is meat bone separator, we can effectively utilize and recover 30 to 50% of the left out meat from the bones as well as the skin, and thereby they can be in turn used for the preparation of the minced meat product. Okay, so meat is separated from the bone, skin as well as the scale in automated devices called as separators. So as you can clearly see in this particular picture, so whatever the portion that we regard them as inedible portion, soon after the processing, so we will be putting it into a separator. So this meat bone separator, what it does, it separates the bone as well as the meat portion. So herein you can see the meat portion. So this meat will be effectively used for the preparation of the minced meat products. Okay, so that is the advantage of having a meat bone separator. Okay, so these are the important unit operation which are currently employed as a basic unit processing operation for the fish. Okay, so let us now understand what are the type of value added products that can actually be prepared by utilizing fish as a important ingredient. Okay, so herein I have given what is the importance of the value addition as far as the food product is considered. So value addition is one of the most practical way to increase the profitability in the fish processing and the sale in domestic as well as international market. So value addition will always increase the capital, will always increase the price of the product, which might give profitability to the industry, because the addition of the other ingredients or preparation of variety of product by utilizing fish as a raw material, it will increase the price of the product, the finished product, and thereby it will render practically, profitability in case of the industry. Okay, so also it is becoming market requirement, because most of the consumer are demanding variety of product, so it is of a market requirement as well. So the industries have to come up with at least 2-3 novel products released in the market every now and then, because the consumer always require a variety of product. Okay, so that is why it is regarded as a market requirement as well. So the variety of fish value added products are there out in the market. So a few of which I have listed here. So fish sausages, fish fillets, fish cutlets, dehydrated fish products, fish pickles, fish flakes as wafers, as well as fish noodles. So these are the variety of value added products that is existing or currently available in the national as well as international market. So let us have an understanding on couple of the important value added products and how exactly to manufacture them. So first in, I have given you a brief process protocol for the preparation of the fish pickle. So how exactly the fish pickle has to be prepared. So this particular flowchart effectively describes how exactly it has to be done. So first then we have the raw materials. So raw material, the important raw material that we would be using for fish pickling is fish. So the fish has to be subjected for effective washing. So the washing will eliminate any kind of an undesirable microorganism that might be present and any kind of a dust and dirt particle, and then it is subjected for other unit operation and then filleting. So filleting is nothing but separation of the meat from the bone. Okay, so then we will have to portion it into according to the size. So depending on what portion of the pickle that is desired, we will have to cut them accordingly. So after which we will have to be subjecting it for frying. So the frying has to be ideally deep fried in a vegetable oil. Okay, so after deep frying in a vegetable oil, we will have to mix it with other ingredients. So what are the other ingredients that are chiefly used in here? So we are using minced peeled garlic, ginger, cleaned green chilies, and we are grinding all of them together into a paste. So why exactly this has to be done? These are the spices. So these spices will contribute to the flavor enhancement in case of your final product. Okay, so the final product will be enriched with lot of flavors. So besides them, we will be also using, fenugreek seeds, cumin seeds, mustard and asafoetida powder. All of them will be fried and then they will be powdered. So these things will be mixed together with the fish pickle fish which has been deep fried in the vegetable oil. So after which we will be subjecting it for maturation. So in case of maturation, what is happening? So we will be leaving it for some time for the flavor enhancement. So the flavor will be absorbed effectively by the fish which has been sliced into proper portion, and after which we will be subjecting it for packing, and then we will be sealing it and labeling and storage at the room temperature. So this is the process protocol which is involved in the preparation of the fish pickle. So it starts with the raw material. So the important raw material here is the fish, and the fish has to be subjected for all the other unit operations, so effectively to obtain the fillets. Okay, so after obtaining the fillets, it has to be portioned into desirable size and it has to be deep fried in the vegetable oil. So after deep frying, it has to be mixed with other ingredients. So other ingredients may be the paste as well as the powder ingredients. So the paste eventually includes the garlic, ginger as well as green chili paste, and this the powder includes the fenugreek seeds, cumin seeds, mustard as well as asafoetida. These two has to be effectively mixed with the deep fried fish, and then it has to be subjected for maturation. So in the maturation, so there will be enough time that will be given to the product so that it effectively absorbs all the things effectively, and then there will be a flavor enhancement in the same. Okay, so after which we will be subjecting it for packing, sealing, and then it can be kept in the room temperature for at least a period of 6 to 1 year. Okay, so 6 months to 1 year. So the next important product that I have described in here is fish sausage. So the fish sausage is the ground fish meat with various other additives like salt, sugar, starch, spices, fat, chemicals, etc., which is packed in a synthetic casing, properly sealed, boiled and cooled product. Okay, so this particular ingredients, in the next slide I have given you the list of ingredients which are effectively required for the preparation of the fish sausage. In other words, fish sausage is ready to eat proteinaceous food which is heat processed. So as we are already aware, so fish is rich in protein and therefore it is a proteinaceous food for the consumer. So herein I have established or given you the ingredients which is required for the preparation of the fish sausage. So the ingredients that are chiefly required for this particular product preparation includes the minced meat, okay, so the minced meat up to 70%, and the salt, sugar, polyphosphates. Polyphosphates are the one of the important permitted additive for flavor enhancement in case of most of the meat as well as fish products. So in case of the fish, it will help to retain the protein content or the moisture content in case of the proteins. So besides that, we will be also using spices such as like coriander, chili powder, pepper, garlic as well as ginger, which will contribute to the flavor enhancement, and also the monosodium glutamate, which is also an important flavor enhancing chemical agent, and the preservatives and color for the increasing the aesthetic appeal of the final product. So besides that, we can also use starch, cold water as well as fat and vegetable oil. So the percentage and the ingredients list has been effectively established in this particular slide. So following which, let us have an understanding on the method of preparation of this particular product. Okay, so herein I have established a flowchart which effectively describes what are the important unit operations which are ideally involved in preparation of the fish sausage. Okay, so first then we have the whole fish. So the fish has to be subjected for gutting to remove any kind of an undesirable internal organs which has an ability to hamper the quality of the overall product, and then we have to subject it for deheading, where the head of a fish will be separated, and then filleting. Filleting is nothing but the removing the meat portion from its bone, and then we will have to subject it for mincing. So after mincing, we will have to subject it for washing, and we will have to mix with all the ingredients that we have listed in the previous slide. So all the ingredients has to be listed and we will have to convert them into a paste. So this particular paste has to be loaded into a polymer, that is polyvinylidene chloride as well as polyvinyl chloride. So whatever the ingredients, that is the fish paste, has to be filled inside this particular tool, and then it has to be subjected for heating. So heating is ideally performed at a temperature of 80 to 90 degrees centigrade for a period of 60 to 60 minutes. So heating has to be done at a rate of 88 to 90 degrees centigrade for a period of 50 to 60 minutes. Okay, so this significantly cooks the product, and then after cooking, so after the time interval, so we will have to significantly cool it down to less than 20 degrees centigrade, and then we will have to dry them, and then it has to be cold stored below 2 degrees centigrade. So that is the process that is involved in the manufacturing of the fish sausage. Okay, so first the whole fish has to be gutted, and following which it has to be deheaded, filleting, mincing, washing, and then we will have to mix with all the listed ingredients from the previous slide, and then we will have to convert them into a paste, which in turn has to be loaded onto a polyvinyl chloride device, and then it has to be, see, this polyvinyl has to significantly be this particular shape. Okay, because this is the typical shape of a sausage. Okay, so this the tool that is being used, it has to be desirably in that particular portion or that particular fashion. Okay, so after which we will have to subject it for boiling or heating at a temperature of 88 to 90 degrees centigrade for a period of 50 to 60 minutes, which ensures proper cooking of the product, and thereby it has to be significantly cooled down to less than 20 degrees centigrade, and it has to be dried, and it has to be stored at a temperature less than 2 degrees centigrade. So this was the method of operation for the method of preparation for the fish sausage. So next then we have listed other important fish related products such as like the fish cakes. Okay, so the fish cakes are ideally, you know, the tuna as well as other variety of fish, that is mackerels. Tuna as well as mackerel variety of fish are ideally used for the preparation of fish cakes. So how exactly this is prepared? So the fishes are cleaned and steam boiled, then separated in layers. So they have to be steam boiled and they have to be separated in layers. So to which we will have to mix them with the boiled potato, which has been added with the salt, pepper as well as citric acid, and it has to be layered. Fishes are mixed with the above mixture and packed in the vacuum packed and prepared fish cake. So this is how a fish cake actually looks like. So after mixing with all of this, it has to be subjected for either baking or frying. In turn, it will yield the fish cake. Okay, so this is the method of manufacturing of fish cake. So the next important type of product that I have listed here is the fish salads. So fish salads, as the name itself suggests, it will be used as a salad. So the fishes are cleaned, pieces are boiled with steam. The boiled fish or other types of crustacean products such as like the prawns are mixed with tomatoes, salt, garlic, maida, pepper and oil to prepare fish salad. So as you can clearly see in this particular picture, it involves the usage of varieties of vegetables as well. So along with vegetables, we will be having fish as well, which is dressed properly. Okay, so after which this particular prepared salads can be, you know, freshly conditioned or can be stored for any time in the future eating. Okay, so this is about the fish salad. Okay, so next important type of value added products that I have listed in here is the fish flakes or wafers. Okay, so the threads, fins, beams and the catfishes are used in the preparation of the flakes or wafers. So the fish flesh of the skin of the fish is boiled and then mixed with maida, salt to impart flavor, and then they are prepared into the form of flakes. So this one is unfried version of fish flake. So this is the fried version of the fish flake. So this is how ideally the fish flakes are ideally prepared by using fish as one of the important ingredient. Alright, so these were the important value added products that can be eventually prepared using fish as an important product. Alright, so I hope this particular class wherein we have established what are the important value added products that could be, you know, effectively prepared by using fish as an important ingredient is effectively understood by each and every one of you. I thank you very much, guys.